want to show you the answers to number 4 and 5 that I asked you to do on this assignment over 7-5 part 1. So looking at number 4, this is what you should have got for an answer. Did you remember your plus minus? I was taking the square root of 9, which is an even root, and when you take an even root, there's a plus minus. So that's where that plus minus came from. So remember, when you do this final step, you're taking a positive 27 and adding 2, which is where the positive 29 came from. And then you're taking a negative 27 and adding 2, which is where the negative 25 came from. And then number 5, I had to divide by 3 first. And then I was ready for the reciprocal exponent. This one, you're not taking an odd root, so there's no plus minus on this. And 78 is the answer you should have got. Okay, so today we're moving on. This is still lesson 7-5, but this is 7-5 part 2. I think you'll actually find this one to be easier than the other lesson. We don't have that whole all around the world thing to do, or the plus minus. So I think you'll like this. All right, with these problems, you'll notice your variable is under a radical. So I need to get that variable that's under the radical by itself before I can move on. So in this problem, I need to get rid of that 2. How do you think you get rid of it? Subtract it. The 2's not smushed with the radical, so it's just a positive 2, so we're going to subtract it. That way, 2 minus 2 makes 0, and now it's gone. So all you have left is the square root of 3x minus 2 on the left side. And on the right side, what is 6 minus 2? 4. Okay, so to now get rid of that square root, we're going to, what do you think? Square. If I want to get rid of a squared, like this one, if I wanted to get rid of a squared, I'd square root. Well, this is backwards. If you want to get rid of a square root, you square. So I'm squaring both sides. So on the left-hand side, the squared and square root cancel each other out. So all you're left with is 3x minus 2. And on the right side, there's no around the world thing because this is not a fraction. So what's 4 squared? 4 squared is 16. 4 times 4. And now we just have a little baby equation to solve. This is no big deal at all. To get rid of subtraction of something, we add. So I'm adding 2 to both sides. The 3x is going to come down. And then what's 16 plus 2? 18. And then how do you get rid of the 3? You divide. So we divide both sides by 3, and then x equals 6. And that's my answer. So that's how all of these problems are going to kind of go down today. There's one that's a little bit different looking, but it's basically the same. Okay, so we have this whole around the world business when we have parentheses and a fraction exponent. But if we don't have that, then we don't have to deal with all that. All right, number 2. So my variable that's under the radical, that has to be by itself. Now this time you'll notice the plus 3, it's not under the radical, whereas this one, there were several things under the radical. This one, it's only the x under the radical. So I need to get rid of the 3 that's in the front and the 3 that's in the back. So to get rid of the 3 in the back, which is what we want to do first, because we typically get rid of addition, subtraction first. So to get rid of addition of 3, I'm going to subtract 3. So 3 minus 3 is 0. So you're left with 3 square root of x. And then on the right side, 15 minus 3 makes 12. Okay, I'm still trying to get x that's under this radical by itself. So how do you think you'll get rid of this 3? Divide. This 3 is smushed, which means it's multiplied, and we get rid of multiplication with division. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. So all you're left with is the square root of x. And then what's 12 divided by 3? 4. So at this point, to get rid of a square root, we square. So I'm going to square the left side, and I'm going to square the right side, because what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. On the left side, the squared and square root cancel each other, so all you're left with is x. And on the right side, 4 squared makes 16. And that's my answer, and I'm done. Pretty easy peasy lemon squeezy. Okay, number 3. So this variable that is under the radical, I'm trying to get it by itself before I get rid of the radical. So it's the -6 that needs to go. How do you make it go? You add it. To get rid of subtraction of something, we do the opposite and add. So -6 plus 6 is 0. So your square root of 5x plus 1 comes down. And on the right side, what is 0 plus 6? 6. Okay, so now that my variable that's under the radical is by itself, I'm ready to remove the radical. So since it's a square root, I'm going to square. So I square the left side and I square the right side. So on the left side, the squared and square root cancel each other out, leaving 5x plus 1. And on the right side, what's 6 squared? 6 squared, 6 times 6, that's 36. Okay, now this is just a little two-step equation from here. So first, to get rid of addition of 1, we would subtract 1. 5x would come down. The equals would come down. And then what's 36 minus 1? 35. And then how do we get rid of this 5? We divide by it. So I'm going to divide both sides by 5. And my answer is going to be 7. What do you think? You like this lesson better than the other? Okay, now number 4 looks different, but it's not hard. All right, so my variable that's under the radical, it is by itself on the left-hand side. There's nothing smushed against it. There's nothing added or subtracted behind it or in front of it. The right-hand side, same thing. The variable that's under the radical, it's by itself. There's nothing smushed against it or added or subtracted behind it. Like in this problem, we had something added in front of it that we had to subtract away. In this problem, we had something smushed with it that we had to divide by and something added behind it that we had to subtract. In this problem, there's nothing else on that side to get rid of, and there's nothing else on that side to get rid of. So you're ready right now to get rid of a square root. So to get rid of a square root, we square. And if I square the left side, I have to square the right side. Remember, the squared and square root cancel, so all I'm left with is 3x. On the right side, the squared and square root cancel, so all I'm left with is x plus 6. And then this is just a little equation to solve. Remember, when x's are on opposite sides of the equals, we need to bring one over to the other side. I don't want to move this guy because there's nobody else over here with him, so I'm going to move this guy. So since this is a positive x, I would subtract him. And then 3x minus 1x makes 2x. X minus x is 0, so that's gone. Shoop! All I'm left with is 6. And then how will I get rid of that little 2? I'm going to divide. So to undo multiplication, we divide. And the 2's cancel out. And what's 6 divided by 2? 3. So it looked a little different, but it was not hard. Okay, so what you are to do for me is I want you to try number 5 and number 6. And then when you're done, take a picture of your work and post it to Canvas. And you'll be done with my class for the day.